Carolina Insider is presented by Wells Fargo, official sponsor of Carolina Athletics.
We're back. Time for another edition of the Carolina Insider. Jones Angel, Adam Lucas here with you. Excited to spend the next 30 minutes or so talking Tar Heel athletics. We have yet another great guest as Kyler McMichael, starting cornerback for the number 5 ranked football team in the country, Carolina. Kyler's going to join us coming up in just a little bit. We have our social drive as well, so a lot to do. Thanks so much for being here. But Adam, let's start with last Saturday, Carolina and Virginia Tech, and woo, what an offensive performance by the Tar Heels. More than 600 yards, nearly 400 yards rushing, and a dominant offensive performance by the Tar Heels.
Carolina did everything right offensively, essentially. Maybe a couple drops they'd like to have back, but what a ground attack from Javonte Williams and Michael Carter. Both players with career highs rushing. Sam Howell had his most efficient passer rating he's had in his Carolina career. The offensive line was fantastic. Of course, you saw Brian Anderson on this show in which you got to know Carolina's starting center. He led a great performance by the line. Maybe some things to clean up defensively, but you can be sure Jay Bateman's working on that because the Tar Heels are headed down to Tallahassee this weekend. But offensively, nothing negative to say about the Tar Heels against the Hokies.
Adam, Michael Carter, 214 yards rushing. He had over 250 all-purpose yards in the game, a couple of scores as well, and he was honored, as you would expect, both by the ACC and on a national level.
And he got to be on a motorcycle.
On a motorcycle.
Via Carolina's social media. He's the ACC Running Back of the Week. He's on the Paul Hornung Honor Roll. He's the Pro Football Focus National Backfield of the Week performer. So a lot of well-deserved honors for Michael Carter, but you can tell he's a little skeptical about this motorcycle situation.
He did put the laughy face emoji, though, so he's okay with it. It's all in good fun when you're winning.
I think really he'd rather not be on there.
Also honored this week, Adam mentioned Brian Anderson, starting center for the Tar Heels. Brian, a little more subdued in his retweet there, just back to work for Brian. So he was one of several players on that offensive line who played very well and named the ACC Offensive Lineman of the Week. So congratulations to Brian. Both those guys, Brian and Michael, former podcast guests, as is Chaz Surratt. And Adam, Chaz, maybe not his most impactful day defensively against Virginia Tech, but he's had such a terrific season and a third now playing linebacker, and he's really starting to turn some heads on the national level.
It's just great to see Carolina players get this individual attention nationally. You always hear Roy Williams say it, winners get the awards and the rewards. That's what the Tar Heels are getting, both with national rankings and with Chaz Surratt starting to be mentioned as a possible first-round draft pick in the NFL draft this coming spring. So he'll have another chance on national television this coming weekend against the Seminoles.
By the way, our show brought to you by Wells Fargo, and when our communities need us, Wells Fargo is there to help. And for the Tar Heels, Adam, next stop is Tallahassee. Time change, by the way, for this one. It was originally 7 o'clock, now 7:30 for Carolina and Florida State. And I know the Seminoles are 1-3. That's not a record that they want, but they've had a difficult schedule, including trips to Miami and to Notre Dame. And Adam, no question, this is a talented football team.
They've still got the exact same players that were very highly ranked recruiting classes over the last 3 or 4 seasons making up that roster. The losses to Miami and Notre Dame, a lot of teams are going to have those. It feels like that close game against Jacksonville State sort of sullied people's opinions of Florida State. They're still very good. They're very big along both lines, especially the defensive line. So that Carolina offensive line that played so well against Virginia Tech, going to have a big challenge keeping the Seminoles off of Sam Howell to give him time to make the offense work.
So Carolina, Florida State coming up. Again, it is 7:30 on Saturday night. By the way, this is the 3rd consecutive game in the series that has been played in Tallahassee. The Tar Heels have won the last 2 by the identical score of 37-35, with late field goals playing a big role in both of those. Of course, you remember Nick Weiler's 54-yard kick and subsequent tomahawk chop as he ran down the field last time the Heels were there. All right, let's transition from football to some other sports, Adam, and it has been a dramatic week for Carolina's men's soccer program. What a finish, a buzzer beater. You almost never see buzzer beaters in soccer, but Carolina gets a last-second, quite literally last-second goal to defeat number 2 Clemson. This came from Filippo Zatarin as he got the game winner with 1 second left. Let's take a look and listen.
Javonte serves it in. Opportunity. Oh, fell off a card, it looked like.
I didn't even know I was in Sports Center, but all of a sudden I got, friends sending me videos, be like, dude, you're in Sports Center. I'm like, wait, what? So it was just amazing, a lot of excitement.
Number 2 play of the week of the night on Sports Center that particular day, Adam, and what a moment. You almost never see that, a buzzer beater in soccer.
I think, too, that was the power of the ACC network right there that I think we kind of take for granted here a couple of years later. 3 or 4 years ago, you would have never, A, seen that play, B, seen an interview with Filippo a couple days later, and had just all the footage of it and all the exposure for those Carolina Olympic sports. So great to see a moment like that could have gone under the radar, get a little more national attention, including that big spot on Sports Center. And Filippo and the men's soccer Tar Heels headed for another tough challenge this weekend. They're going to Wake Forest on Sunday.
He, by the way, was named ACC Player of the Week, the grad student transfer from St. Mary's in California. So congratulations certainly to Filippo Zatarin and the Tar Heel men's soccer program off to a really strong start. Adam, let's go from there to field hockey. No big surprise here as field hockey program continues to roll on. Actually, due to some unique scheduling challenges that everybody's having this year, the Tar Heels faced Virginia twice this past weekend and picked up wins in each 5-1 and 2-1, the 2 final scores. Tar Heels now 4-1 as far as their record on the season.
And a great weekend for goalkeeper Amanda Hendry. She was named the ACC Defensive Player of the Week. We were watching that second game against Virginia Jones on the ACC network.
Yes, we were.
Amanda had some great saves in that game. I don't know that much about field hockey saves, but she sprawled and made some great saves. So deservedly the ACC Defensive Player of the Week.
Couple other programs that will be in action this weekend for Carolina. Women's soccer program, a 2-game road trip up in the Northeast. They'll be at Syracuse and then at Boston College for back-to-back games. Volleyball also on the road, a lot closer though. The volleyball program playing NC State twice this weekend, both over in Raleigh. The first one is on Friday. The second match is on Sunday. So a lot going on around Carolina athletics. That includes, of course, the big football game coming up against Florida State. And we had a chance to talk to Kyler McMichael, starting cornerback for the Tar Heels. Kyler, of course, the transfer from Clemson. He's also Trey Morrison's former high school teammate and now roommate as well. We talk about that a little bit with Kyler and preview the matchup with Florida State. Our conversation with Kyler and our interview every week is brought to you by Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola tastes better together and is a proud partner of Carolina Athletics. Okay, we've got the social drive coming up after our conversation with Tar Heel DB, Kyler McMichael.
Last week on the podcast, we had a defensive back from Greater Atlanta Christian who was the reigning Tar Heel Defensive Player of the game. This week on the podcast, we've got a defensive back from Greater Atlanta Christian who's the reigning Carolina Defensive Player of the game. Last week, Trey Morrison. This week, Kyler McMichael. I figured out football recruiting. Get more guys from Greater Atlanta Christian and put them on defense. Kyler, was your high school team just a juggernaut?
I mean, it's kind of ironic how that, I guess, happened week to week, back to back. But I want to say we did have a lot of talent at our high school. Of course, Trey, I ended up transferring to GAC because of my relationship with Trey, and I ended up coming here because of my relationship with Trey. So it's kind of funny how it worked out.
All right, now, Kyler, we talked to Trey last week. He said he was an excellent cook. We need the actual lowdown from you on Trey's cooking ability.
I cannot lie. Trey is a great cook.
Oh.
I can't lie. From ribs, the breakfast on the grill, just all around, he could cook. I got to give it to him.
But now what we also heard was another one of your roommates, Joshua Zudu, is a little bit tough to cook for or just kind of difficult to feed. What is the situation there?
Yeah, so we like to say with Josh, he's probably one of the pickiest big guys that we've ever met. Just when you look at him, you would think that he'd like to eat just about anything, but it's not the case with him. So it's hard to appease him with certain things. So.
All right, well, let's get to the field. Take us through now 3 games through your first year playing with the Tar Heels, out there every day at one of the cornerback spots. Just first time you've played on the field in a while. Take us through kind of how it's going for you.
Oh, I loved it. Just being able to finally get out there and run around, it's been an experience for me. And I've been fortunate enough to have pretty decent games, but of course there's always things I want to capitalize on each game. But it's just experience, and I'm taking it all in, and I'm loving it. So,
Coach Brown has talked a lot about this team learning to win, especially in the fourth quarter. What has happened in the fourth quarter of these 3 games so far that has enabled you to win all these games that you see being something that can even be more beneficial down the road later this season?
I feel like a strong suit of our team, we wear teams down throughout the quarter. So whenever the fourth quarter comes around, we take pride in the fourth quarter. That's the quarter that we just really want to run the score up and put our best foot forward because we know that team's tired. It's something that we work on, so just keep progressing, getting better.
So, but every team always says that. They always say, like, we own the fourth quarter. What's the difference? Why do you own the fourth quarter?
I just feel like when we come out there in terms of owning the fourth quarter, like I said, we take pride in it. When the fourth quarter comes around, we hold up our 4. We do it in practice. We do it in the games. In the games, we usually go over to our student section. We hype them up because we want to let them know that, okay, this is where we seal the deal. So just going out, sealing the deal.
Kyler, take us back. You mentioned your relationship with Trey was part of it, but take us back to when you decided, of course, Kyler started his career at Clemson, then elected to transfer to go somewhere else. Why was Carolina ultimately the choice for you?
I just saw the potential in the program. When you see such great leaders like Coach Matt coming in, it's just the staff that he put together, Dre Bly being my position coach, it's amazing. So I knew that this team was going to be something great in the future, and it's holding up to it.
Coach Bly, of course, one of the best DBs that's ever played at Carolina, maybe the best DB to play at Carolina, until Kyler McMichael takes that spot here in a year or two.
I hope.
What is he like as a coach? Because sometimes guys who are so good at doing it on the field struggle to then coach it. It seems like he's really adapted well. What's that relationship like for you, and what is he like to you as a coach?
Dre's a cool dude. He's really like one of the boys to us. He's funny. He's always joking with us on the field, but at the same time, just having that knowledge of being out there in the game and everything, all the accolades he has, he's just able to give us the right information and just allowing us to go out there and ball. So.
Coach Brown was talking with Jones this week and talked about how when a program takes the next step, it's when you see guys start to not care who's getting the credit or everyone doing whatever they have to do to win a game, even if it doesn't show up on the stat sheet. I wonder what you've seen with this team that makes you think they're headed that direction, that maybe you could even draw upon what you saw at Clemson that has been happening here as well.
When you look at our successes, it all comes from just players holding each other accountable and just being a player-led team. So just being able to go out each and every single day, putting our best foot forward and just competing and, holding each other to that certain standard. That's one thing that we're high on in the program, just holding ourselves to that certain standard and just, living up to coming out competing no matter who the competition is. So.
Kyler, just playing the position you play, you naturally are going to fail some. It's just how the game is when you're a corner.
Exactly.
How do you have that mentality of, I don't want this to happen, but when it does happen, I got to forget that and just move forward? How do you get that skill, and how do you have that ability to do that?
I'm going to come out each and every single play. I'm going to put my best foot forward. I'm going to compete with the receiver. If he gets one, he gets one. But in my head, I know that I'm going to win the matchup, whether it's 5-4 or 6-1 me. It's just winning the matchup.
You've got that number 1 jersey that a lot of guys want. How were you able to get that jersey, and have you had guys trying to get you to trade with you?
Oh, most definitely. That that number 1 jersey is a number that everybody wants. When I came into it, at first, coming from Clemson, I wanted number 2. Number 2 was taken, so they said they had number 1 because Miles Dorn was about to leave. That's a number that I really had to embrace, and they told me with number 1 it's gonna have a certain kind of like attitude or cockiness that comes with it. So I was just, that whole summer I spent just like my entire time embracing the number, just getting myself mentally ready. Okay, number 1, certain people expect certain things that are number 1, so just living up to the number basically.
Kyler, what's your opinion on the 0? It's the first year that the 0 is available. Was that enticing to you at all?
0 is it really is. When I saw that, I was like, wow. But 0 is a cool number. It definitely was enticing. Back when I played basketball, I was actually number 0. But when I saw they made it a football number, I was like, oh, it caught my eye a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, but. Like I said, I was focusing on number 1. I already embraced the number, so I just rolled with it.
Once you have the number, is there any talk about like, hey, Kyler, I've got number 4, but I think that might look better on you. Maybe I'd look good on 1. What can we do to make this happen?
Oh, it definitely was. I had a lot of people in the locker room saying, hey, I was number 1 in high school. I said, yeah, I understand that, but hey, it's a number that I want. I love the number 2, and I've already embraced it, so.
Coach Brown has talked a lot about you being out on an island, and again, at the corner, sometimes that's going to happen. But they are comfortable doing that with you and placing you in that situation. What type of mentality do you have to have when you know you're out there by yourself?
Oh, I love being out on an island. Just that one-on-one match, mano a mano. So just basically having that attitude, like, okay, I'm going to win against you the entire game, every snap.
Florida State coming up. Big game for Carolina. Of course, Florida State's the record, not what the Seminoles won, I understand that, but a very talented team. I know you guys, in the course of this week, just starting to get ready for them, but what will be important as you guys go down to Tallahassee this upcoming weekend?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we really stressed. We weren't paying attention to the record because we do know the potential they have. They have a very talented team. But it's definitely, for our focus in the secondary, of course, is being able to stop the passing game because they do have talented receivers. So just being able to create a plan and put something together that will allow us to be successful in that passing game.
Kyler, as I'm sure you know, you guys are ranked number 5 in the country right now, number 6 in the coaches poll as well. How do you embrace that ranking? It's at Carolina. It's been a while since the ranking has been that high. How do you accept that but don't let it overwhelm you?
Exactly. It was something that we celebrated at the moment, but of course we want to do better. So we're going to hold ourselves to that standard and just continue to get better each and every week.
Carolina and Florida State coming up 7:30 in Tallahassee on Saturday night. Kyler McMichael, take a look for him. He's number 1. You can't miss him. He's wearing that number 1 jersey out there. Kyler, man, thanks for your time. Appreciate it, and best of luck this upcoming weekend.
No, thank you for having me.
We appreciate Kyler's time. I like Kyler's confidence about jersey number 1, Adam. He
agree.
said he's got to own it. Look, it's number 1. He understands what comes with that.
I feel like if the Pod had jerseys, you'd be number 1.
You'd be number 0 in so many ways, Adam.
Yeah, that's fine. That's about right.
All right, time for our social drive. Let's take a drive around social media. I was wondering if you were going to.
I was still thinking about my number 0 jersey, to be honest with you.
To get caught up with lots of different things around Carolina athletics. Let's start with the fact that pretty big news for the University of North Carolina, but much more subdued this time around just because of COVID and everything going on. But on the 227th birthday of the University of North Carolina, Kevin Guskowitz was officially installed as the 12th chancellor at UNC. I had the opportunity to talk to Chancellor Guskowitz a couple of days ago and asked him just about his relationship with Carolina athletics. He has a long one. He started as a trainer for Carolina athletics. He's been in exercise and sports science department here at Carolina, keeps close ties with Tar Heel athletics, and Chancellor talked a little bit about that.
I love hanging out with our student athletes and our coaches as often as I can. There's nothing better than a Saturday afternoon when you can bounce from a lacrosse game to a baseball game, and back, back over to another, over for a fencing match. These are, great opportunities to get out and celebrate the accomplishments of the student athletes. When I first got here, Jones, I was the athletic trainer for the women's lacrosse team. It was their first year as a varsity team. And we had some fun memories there working with Coach Jenny Levy, Jenny Slingluff at that time. Jenny took, I think, 2 of the first 4 years we went to the Final Four. Yep. That was a lot of fun. Obviously, have had got to work with the football team for a while then, and some great memories there back during Coach Brown's last few years on his first stint here. And certainly last year was a lot of fun. My first game as chancellor, I guess, or interim chancellor, was the game down in Charlotte against South Carolina. That was a lot of fun. And then obviously being here for a lot of other national championships, certainly in women's soccer, I've gotten to know Anson Dorrance and Karen Shelton with our incredible field hockey team, and then obviously Coach Williams and the success he's had. But a few national championships we've enjoyed during my time here at Carolina. Watching the men's basketball program certainly has been special.
So that full interview that I was able to chat with Chancellor Guskiewicz, that is available on GoHeels.com. We will have the audio of that full interview coming in the next episode or two of the audio version of the Carolina Insider. And Adam, from the athletic trainer for women's lacrosse to the chancellor at the university, Kevin Guskiewicz, certainly a terrific man and a big friend to Carolina athletics as well.
And it's been obvious the head coaches that we've had the opportunity to speak with during this past year or so have so much respect for Kevin Guskiewicz and what he's been able to do both for the university and for athletics. They ran a video on Saturday at the football game with numerous Carolina head coaches congratulating Chancellor Guskiewicz. So great to see him officially installed and ready to work.
Speaking of the Virginia Tech game, Adam, it was the first time that Carolina had any fans in the stands this year. Not a ton, just a little more than 3,500, but that included Scott Weaver, who, if you may remember, last week we gave away a pair of tickets to that Virginia Tech matchup. Scott was the winner. He and his wife came to the game, and it was great to see Scott and others in the crowd this past weekend.
Also great to see that you let Scott wear your mustache for that game. I know he really appreciated that.
That's dedication.
But great to see Scott, who's a big Rams Club member, and glad to see that he was able to take in the game. And then we also, by the way, I think we're going to give away tickets for the state game next week. We also got a tweet from Hannah Evans, who is a big pod listener, and she and her husband Zachary took their 3-month-old daughter to her first game in Kenan Stadium, the one against Virginia Tech. As Hannah correctly said, this will be one of those stories she hears for the rest of her life. I think that's right, but I think you punctuate the story with, look, your parents are awesome, and we took you to the Carolina-Virginia Tech game when you were only 3 months old.
1-0.
That's right.
1-0.
Undefeated.
Adam, a big reason why Carolina football is on the positive track that it is as far as success on the field is recruiting. Mack Brown and his staff have done a terrific job in that regard since Coach Brown came back to Chapel Hill. And found this tweet from Tony Grimes, a really talented young freshman for the Tar Heels, his high school coach. You notice just a little personal touch here in recruiting that goes a long way.
And I think it's so telling that Coach Yeager says, never had a college send me a pic of my old player. That kind of little personal touch makes a big difference. You hear all the time about the personal connection Mack Brown's able to establish with everyone he comes in contact with. That's a way that Tar Heel football is doing it, even through the U.S. Postal Service.
Tar Heels will be down in Tallahassee, as we talked about, against Florida State this upcoming weekend. And Adam, interesting, there's some ties there between Carolina and Florida State. I don't think necessarily they're ties that people think about a whole lot, but let's not forget Mack Brown's alma mater is FSU. Coach Brown played at Florida State, and Lee Pace, who handles in a normal year our sideline reporting for our football broadcast. He's been up in the booth this season because we're not allowed to have a sideline reporter. But Lee sent out this tweet earlier this week about some unique ties between the Heels and the Noles.
Look at that hair for Mack Brown, who I think many people forgot went to undergrad at Florida State. And then some other Tar Heel ties there as well. Moyer Smith, the longtime executive director of the Rams Club. Jim Donnan, who was on the staff at Carolina. So a lot of Carolina-Florida State ties, other than the one you'll probably hear a lot about this weekend, the Sam Howell story.
Of course, Sam Howell originally had committed to Florida State before changing that commitment and coming to Carolina, and certainly that has been a benefit for the Tar Heels. Another big benefit for the Tar Heels, Adam, is Javonte Williams, one of those terrific tailbacks that the Tar Heels have. Javonte will be our guest tomorrow on the audio version of the podcast. Now, interesting, Javonte has this reputation of being this real quiet guy that doesn't like to talk a lot. I'm going to tell you something. This is a terrific interview. I want to get Adam's thoughts on it, but first, I want to let you just take one little quick look and listen on just a little bit of what you're going to hear from Javonte tomorrow on the audio podcast.
What's your relationship like with the offensive line? How do you try to make sure that those guys know that you appreciate what they're doing for you?
Oh, it's real good. Group chats, eating out together, things like that. We always on the same page. Actually, Coach Searles got me one of the O-line shirts for something I did for the Boston College game. So, I mean, like, we really all brothers. It's a family thing. Coach Brown, he brought that back when he came, and he really instilled it in all of us.
What'd you do in the BC game to get an O-line shirt?
It was one of the blocks I had, a pass protection block, and I had hit the dude, and he, like, fell on his back. And Coach Searles gave me a chicken truck shirt. He said I hit him so hard, like, when the truck hit a chicken, the feathers just fly everywhere. So I got the shirt.
Chicken truck shirt, Adam.
I would do anything for a chicken truck shirt. I also want to make sure the record reflects I'm actually sitting 12 feet farther back from the camera than Jones is in that video. That's why things are a little distorted.
Yeah, the fisheye lens makes things look a little funky. It's actually how we look the best. There's no doubt about that. So Javonte Williams, of course, full interview coming tomorrow. We had a lot of fun talking to Javonte. I think you'll enjoy getting to know him a little bit better. Adam, some big-time congratulations are in order both at the professional level for women's soccer and for Carolina basketball. Kalia Ohai-Watt, of course, J.J. Watt's wife, she was called up to the national team on women's soccer side of things. And, of course, Danny Green, former Tar Heel, picking up his, count 'em, third world championship.
Always a big Carolina contingent on the U.S. women's national team, an equally big Carolina contingent with NBA championships. The Tar Heels just obliterating everyone else in the ACC when it comes to alums who have won NBA championships. Of course, that's Danny Green's third title with his third different team. He's one of only 4 players to do that. He's the only one of those 4 players who also won an NCAA championship.
Wow.
Jones, I think Danny Green's on the list of all-time Carolina basketball winners.
Just winners, yeah.
He played in more wins than any Tar Heel in history. He went to 2 Final Fours. He won a national title. He's won 3 NBA titles. I seem to remember he went 4-0 at Cameron Indoor Stadium, and he may have dunked on someone. He's one of Carolina's all-time winners.
No doubt. Congratulations to Danny, and man, what a career he has had, and hopefully some more years still to go for Danny Green in the NBA. Adam, one of our favorites from Carolina's past, we've had a chance to talk to this guy actually on the audio podcast, a rare interview with Ed Cota, and Ed had on Instagram this past week, Ed had some former highlights out there for people to see.
Ed's really upped his Instagram game in the last month or two. He seems to have this storehouse of highlights. And I don't know how to explain why that move is so cool. He just dribbles behind his back, but the way he does it, because you believe he's going to throw a behind-the-back pass, but then he turns it into a dribble. That was Ed Cota in just a little nugget right there. I could watch Ed Cota highlights all day.
What was one of those hashtags that make it look easy, but it isn't? Yeah. That's what Ed Cota did. Yeah. He made everything. It was easy Ed. He made it look easy.
Ed Cota and Ivory Latta, 2 Tar Heel point guards who know how to use correct hashtags.
Adam, a Tar Heel that we'll be getting to know more here over the next several months is Walker Kessler. And in the continuing series of introducing these talented Tar Heel freshmen on the basketball side of things to Carolina fans, you had an opportunity to catch up with Walker.
A lot of Walker Kessler content last week on Carolina's social media channels, on GoHeels.com. Loved getting to talk to him more. Tomorrow's features are going to be on Puff Johnson. You'll see a story on him on GoHeels.com, and you'll see a video with an interview with him on Carolina's social media, and all sorts of stuff about Puff, who I think you'll really like. Carolina basketball practice started yesterday. Tar Heels are practicing today and tomorrow also as they start to get ready for a season that hopefully is going to begin on November 25th, and really looking forward to getting to see them back out on the court again in a busy time for Carolina athletics. Never too busy to see what I think may be the best picture of Jones that we've ever had. We celebrated the 300th pod recently, and the listeners were kind enough. They got an action shot of Jones just regulating stuff like he usually does with the pod.
Look
there
at
it
that.
is. There it is.
How did they get that shot of me? I didn't know anyone was watching.
I think it's that camera in the studio. I like the hashtags there also, almost Ed Cota level, pod 300, and this is podta.
Yeah.
But the 300th pod audio celebration on that episode was very good. So if you didn't hear that, recommend you going back and listening to that one.
Look at my obliques there. That looked great.
I don't even know where that is.
All right, we've done it again. Another episode of the Carolina Insider. Don't forget, hey, one more time, 7:30, game time change for this weekend. So if you tune in at 7, you're going to be a little bit early for Carolina and Florida State. Radio-wise, we'll be on the air at 6:30 for that one. But for now, we'll say goodbye. Thanks for joining us on another edition of the Carolina Insider.
See you later, Big Grit.